Joining me now is Matt Brodsky. He's a senior fellow with the Security Studies Group. And here in studio with me is Micah Halpern, a Middle East analyst. Good to have you both. Matt, let's start with you. Prime Minister Netanyahu's declaration that Israel is going to extend sovereignty over the Jordan Valley. As expected, a lot of condemnation from the Arab world and the rest of the world, including the United Nations. No surprise there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we heard essentially what we would expect to hear from the Arab League and from the other countries surrounding the area. But in the end, I mean, the fact is what Netanyahu said was what he intends to do. He didn't, in fact, carry out anything. And this is within 7 days of the election, as you point out. So there's a lot that is said in the run up to an election, and we'll see what happens afterward. I know from the White House, the administration has said that there's, nothing that Netanyahu said that precludes any type of peace settlement that they have, which they intend to release after the election. So it doesn't seem to change anything from the White House's calculus. And we've grown, I would say, over the years, quite accustomed to a lot of demands and claims from the Palestinian side as far as what they claim to be theirs. And that's the whole point of having a negotiation.
Right. And Micah, clearly this is not about the Palestinians or the United Nations or about the Arab countries. This is about appealing to Israeli voters. How does this resonate with the electorate, do you think?
Well, it's clearly a ploy. There's no question about that. But sometimes ploys actually have relevance and power. The Jordan Valley plan is not new to Netanyahu. On July 26, 1967, Yigal Allon created the Allon plan, which was exactly the same principle. There is no one in Israel, no one, I'm speaking percentage-wise, the vast majority of Israelis realize the importance security-wise of the Jordan Valley. So, and when we speak about the Allon plan, we're talking about Peres, Rabin. These are the people who were really advocates of the Allon plan. So it's not simply an idea in the sky. It is a principle of Israeli security.
Absolutely. And both Gantz and Lapid, Matt, have said in the past that they too envision Israel keeping the Jordan Valley forever. So hard for them to come out and criticize Netanyahu for this move. And in fact, they haven't. Has he sort of put them in a corner as to what their envisioning of the future may entail regarding the West Bank now?
But that's why it seems to me to be such a election type of ploy, because, I mean, the fact is you can't have the blue and white party come out against this. And at the same time, it just puts them in a box where they can't really say anything bad about it. It really gets down to a distinction then over they're willing to pull out more to, say, 80% of West Bank territory. Of course, that resembles more of what was attempted during previous peace negotiations, which involved land swaps. Of course, all of these things in the past failed. So what Netanyahu is doing is saying, look, I'm different, I'm more forward-leaning, and I'm more in line with this administration. And again, as he made a point of saying, he's really close with the White House. So.
Well, Micah, not surprisingly, his opponents have criticized the move, not because they're against it, but some like Avigdor Lieberman have saying that it's an empty campaign promise. Lieberman pointing out that Netanyahu made a similar promise. In fact, he said it right to me when I was talking to him before the April elections, that he's going to extend Israeli sovereignty to other parts of the West Bank. Prime Minister Netanyahu replying to that today, saying that he planned on keeping that April promise, but that it was the country's attorney general that blocked that move, that said he wasn't allowed to do that until he had a ruling coalition.
Right.
So has he sort of gotten himself out of it now?
What he has to do, we have to ferret out the difference between a political attack, forget about the political ploy, but the political attack versus a real critique. The political attacks against Netanyahu are clear. That all parties are going to attack him because they have to attack him in order to win. They have to reduce his power, his numbers. Now, so that's not necessarily a real serious critique. The real serious critique is this might not be the best time to talk about a peace plan. That's a serious critique.
Right.
Especially because the President of the United States has a peace plan coming up. And so that's a critique, but it's not really with regard to Israelis' stance on this matter. Israel, wall to wall, believes that the Jordan Valley is an important element of Israel's security, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Micah, I'm going to put you on the spot as someone that was with me on election night coverage, all, 5-6 hours of it. What are you predicting?
Well, I'm predicting that one is we're going to be surprised. One of the great things about politics in general is that the polls today are not what they once were 20 years ago. They don't tell us what's really going to happen. Most polls today call people's homes between 6 and 9 in the evening.
All right, we can't trust the polls. We've seen that with Brexit. We've seen that in the U.S. elections.
Absolutely.
But very quickly, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Bibi's going to come through with the majority seats, or certainly enough for President Ruvlin to give him first go at forming a coalition government?
I think he'll have the first go. I'm not certain that he'll be able to succeed. We may have to go for a third election.
Matt, putting you on the spot with your final prediction.
Yeah, look, obviously it's not, the Middle East is a bad place to be in the prediction business. And I would quote Bernard Lewis in saying it's hard to get past. But I will say it seems like we'll have something probably very much like we just had. And then it's a question of whether Lieberman has another rabbit he can pull out of his hat.
Right.
I mean, the same old tricks are going to get stale pretty quick.
So same overall results, but different kingmakers potentially. Thank you so much, Matt Brodsky, Micah Halpern. Appreciate it.